And Eric will present a scenario exercise he was involved in. And I asked him to focus on the methodology aspect, not so much on the results. The floor is yours for 40 minutes.
Thank you, Leo. So, as Leo said, I will try to give you a presentation balance between the methodology and the result in order to give you some stuff to discuss maybe later. But the main objective of this session, as Hervé and Leo asked us, is to focus on the method used to frame the scenarios and less on the results of a given model or approach. So that's why I'm going to try to do, particularly in the first steps of my presentation. And for this exercise, I will present you the foresight works that we have done, that we have started in 2012, and it is called ADEME Vision 2030-2050. Some word on the context. We have launched this work in 2012 when our former CEO asked us to try to build for the first time for the ADEME forward vision of the energy system. And we try to answer to this question with a collaborative exercise. It means that it was not an academic or research exercises. The aim was to involve a lot of engineers and experts from the agency. Approximately 60% have been involved, and we were a small coordination team. I was in this team of four people. We speak of vision and not scenarios. It is important to keep that in mind, because in fact we don't give a very detailed roadmap with political steps for each horizon of time. We have two horizons, 2030 and 2050. And for this horizon, we try to give an overview of the energy system, considering consumption and production. And at last, some more about the tools and the models that we use to quantify this vision. We used 4 different tools. The first one is MEDPRO. It's a technical model. We developed an electrical system model, EOD, équilibre offre-demande. We use an agricultural and land use model, MOSUT, to modelize the agriculture sector and the use of land and the impact of other greenhouse gas emission, because we do not only consider CO2, but CO2, methane, and nitrogenous. We use the macroeconomic model, 3ME, to do a macroeconomic evaluation of our visions. So today, when we speak of the vision 2030 and 2050, in fact, we speak of a kind of triptych. The first part is the most known. It's a technical description of the energy system. It has been done in 2012. Then we did a macroeconomic evaluation with the OFCE and TNO. And we have just finished these last weeks a social translation of the daily life of household. The aim of this free production, in fact, is to be able to speak to different persons and different public. We want to speak with institutions, we want to speak with energy producer, we want to speak with academic world, and we want to speak with public and final consumer. So it's not possible to use only one production to reach all these targets. So that's why we try to develop this kind of triptych. Today I'm going to present you the result mainly from the first part and from the macroeconomic evaluation for a small part. As I said, the social translation has just been finished, but you will be able to find it on the website. About the methodology, as I said, we have two different visions for two different horizons. In fact, if we consider the same scope for 2030 and 2050, we consider the energy consumption from buildings, transport system, agriculture and industry. We consider the renewable energy production too, because I forget to say that we build this vision considering only our core skills, in fact. So our core skills in ADEME is the energy management and the renewable energy production. So we try to develop two visions built on these two core skills. And even if we have the same scope for the two time frame and horizon, we have distinct perspective. For 2030, we try to evaluate the current trends and to take in consideration a significant increase in energy efficiency and renewable production. So it is a type of exploratory what if, a foresight or a positive method. As Renaud described the different type of methodology before, you can find some analogy with what he has done, said before. For 2050, the target was set. The target is a 75% decrease of greenhouse gas emission and not only CO2. And the aim of the exercises was to define some hypotheses and assumptions to reach these targets. So this is not at all the same methodology. We were in how to reach this target, a backcasting method or a normative method. And at last, one aim of this type of methodology, with two different approach for two different horizon of time, there is an issue to identify a possible gap between these two methodologies. If we consider that between 2030 and 2050 results, we have a big gap, it means that maybe we have to accelerate or we have to reconsider some assumption or hypothesis. Now, to describe you more precisely the methodology of the three different components of the vision. In the first part, the technical scenario, then the macroeconomic evaluation, and at last the social translation. For the technical scenario, in the first time we did an inventory of renewable resources and energy efficiency potential in all the different sectors that I described before. In a second time, considering the return of investment from 3 years to 15 years, considering the different sector, we identify a set of possibility and a set of assumptions to translate in the different models. And in a last step, we were able to get a global vision of energy consumption and renewable production, considering these assumptions. If we look at the macroeconomic evaluation, the technological mix was considered set. So the question was how can we have to change the price, the signal price, to reach such a demand and to reach such an energy mix? And with this type of translation, then we were able to have a simulation of the macroeconomic impact of our energy mix. And at last, the social translation. We choose to define 8 types of household for each time frame. And for this 8 household, we try to have a big diversity of situation. Household with children, low income or high income, household living in urban area or in a rural area, and all other things that we were able to translate in energy consumption. And in the second time, after the definition of these 8 families, we were able to quantify all the daily action and all the daily behaviors in terms of energy and CO2 emission. To give you a summary and an overview of the result of our work, we have 2 distinct perspectives for 2030 and 2050. We have a focus on energy and greenhouse gas emission, even if we consider the local pollution when we are able to do it. And the 2 key messages are, for 2050, energy efficiency and the share of renewable could increase significantly. For 2050, the 4-fold decrease in greenhouse gas emission is achievable with current technologies, and some changes in our habits and behavior. Now I'm going to detail some hypotheses from our scenario and to give you the result considering the different sectors. So the main results at 2050, we have a global decrease of the energy consumption of 20% and a share of renewable production growing from 12% to 35%. In 2050, in our vision, we are able to divide by 2 the final energy consumption compared to 2010. And we reach 55% of energy renewable production on the energy system. If we want to see the different penetration of renewable production considering the different vector, here you can see the share of renewable production considering the different years. As I said, by 2050, the target is reached. So we propose, we do not say it's the best case, we do not say it is the only way to reach the target, but we say it is a way to reach the target considering important energy efficiency gains and important development of renewable production. We are able to reach the target of 4-fold decrease. And in 2030, we are able to reduce by 40% the greenhouse gas emission. Now I'm going to detail the hypothesis for the global exercises and the different sectors. At first, I have to precise you the exogenous variables that we considered. So for the population, the number of persons per household, we considered data from INSEE, considering the price of energy imported, we considered the price of EIA, and considering the GDP, we choose the rate of 1.8 per year, considering the hypothesis of the CAS. If we give some the details exogenous variables, on sectoral, on different sector. We consider the new homes and the energy-intensive industrial output and the share of nuclear power as exogenous variables from the ministry and from the different political will announced when we have done these exercises to reduce the share of nuclear production in the energy mix. So all these things are exogenous variables. It doesn't mean that we think it's the best hypothesis. It means that we consider it's quite consensual. And considering this first part of exogenous variables, then we can discuss of the other assumption. So now to detail the assumption on the different sector. I'm going to detail at first the residential sector. We have an evolution in the urban planning. Today, the construction is 60% houses and 40% multifamily new building. We think that we can have a more balanced dynamic, and our hypothesis is 50-50. Considering the thermal uses, we have a massive energy efficiency retrofitting for the hard building. The comfort is not changed, and it is even improved because we have a development of air conditioning in some cases, and particularly in the tertiary sector. And considering the electrical appliance, where there is an important dynamic of equipment, we have a stock of conventional appliance like fridge, washing machine, TV. In 2030, we consider that the best equipment from today will be the average in 2030. So we can think it's quite conservative because the rate of renewable is faster than that, but that's our hypothesis. And considering the complementary electricity consumption, cell phone, IT, etc., we consider the same amount than today. Today it is 1,000 kilowatt-hour per year, so it is quite huge, and we consider that we can maintain this volume of consumption.
Excuse me, what is the thermodynamic water heaters? Heat pumps. Heat pumps.
Yeah.
Okay.
For water. So the results for all the data I'm going to present here are available online. So I'm going to go faster for the other sector, but it's just to illustrate how we work and the results of our work. So we are able with this assumption to reduce the energy consumption. In the energy mix, the most important thing is probably the end of use of oil for heating. Here you can see this one. So we consider that in 2030, it won't be a solution to use oil for building heating. It is the main evolution for the residential sector. Considering the commercial and public services, the gain are less important because a lot of things has already been done, and we have only a 16% energy reduction. And as you can see, the hypotheses are maybe more conservative. We have a floor area per employee, which is constant. The thermal uses, we have a building stock thermal performance and equipment that are significantly improved, but it is already today better than the household building.
Again, the question, heat means district heat.
Sorry?
Heat, the yellow.
Yeah.
What is heat?
It is district heating.
Okay.
Yeah. considering the transportation, the paradigm is here quite conservative too. We have a constant individual mobility and a small shift in modal split. But as you can see, the private vehicle are always the biggest share of transport system. But we consider that in 2030, we will be able to develop the commercial vehicle. It means that we move to mobility services, particularly in urban area, to reduce the use and the property of vehicle. This is probably one of the most paradigm shift in the transportation system. Then we have modal split, but it's more conservative considering the public transport and the other way of transport. Considering this,
what does it mean, the number of vehicles, passenger vehicles or street vehicles, billions of vehicles times kilometers? This one.
Here it's the total traffic, all the type of vehicle for person.
Bicycles, etc.
No, not bicycle. You have only the vehicles who consume.
These are cars.
Yeah, cars, light vehicles, in fact. So this assumption for what does it mean for the sale and the stock of vehicles? In terms of sales, we can see electric vehicle, not so much because it's only 10% and 22% of plug-in hybrid. And if we consider not the sale but the stock, the results are even more conservative because we have only approximately 10% of the vehicle who are not oil and thermal combustion vehicle. But we are able to reduce massively the energy consumption and CO2 emission. The average of the stock from today 165 grams of CO2 per kilometer to 100 grams of CO2 per kilometer. The transportation, the result on the transport system are this one. So we decrease the energy consumption at approximately 20%. And we don't have a big shift in the energy mix of the transportation result, as you can see here on the right. Last sector, the industry. For the industry, the main assumption is an industrial recovery. What does it mean? It means that we consider that the energy-intensive products we will reach the pre-crisis output quantity. And for the other industries, the products will grow roughly according to GDP growth. And considering the energy efficiency gains on each product, we consider data from the different industrial sector. It is from the CERN. And you can see here the efficiency gains for the different type of production. So it is an average of 20% in terms of energy efficiency. And as you can see here, main part of the gain, it's the yellow case, comes from proven solution. What does it mean? It means that we have at least one industry in this type of production who has a better efficiency production, and it is just the generalization of this type of production. Then we have some organizational and innovation evolution, but as you can see, it is always less important gains. The industrial results, as you can suppose, it is less important because we have a quite conservative hypothesis, and as we said yesterday and this morning, it is a sector that has done already a lot of efforts. So we have only a 10% decrease in final energy consumption. At last sector, food, forest and agriculture sector, we begin to speak about the food because it's probably one of the most important things that we have to consider when we speak about this sector. We consider no regret changes of habits. Today we know that there are huge food wastage, approximately 30% of the food production, and we consider that we are able to reduce this food wastage by 2/3. And the current trends are protracted. Today we consume less and less meat. It's not a strong hypothesis, it's just what we can observe considering the last 20 years. We consider energy efficiency on the agriculture production system, a 25% decrease in energy consumption in the building, and less use of synthetic nitrogen fertilizers. The results of these hypotheses in terms of energy is not really important, as you can see, because agriculture sector consume only 4 million tons of oil equivalent. But it is more important in terms of greenhouse gas emission, and particularly in terms of methane emission.
10 minutes left.
Yeah. I will finish on the energy production. Considering the energy production, at first we work on the biomass and methanization potential. Here you can see the hypothesis that we made. Probably, if you have to keep in mind the most important is the forest harvesting rate, which can increase significatively from 50% to 75%. It means that the total biomass solid fuel will be multiplied by 3 compared to today. Considering the electrical system, our hypotheses on wind and PV production are quite conservative too. We are very close to the RTE new mix. And what does it mean? It means that if we consider the rate of installed capacity in the best years in France, it was in 2010 or 2009. It was 1 gigawatt per year approximately. If we protract these trends, we can reach this power installed. What does it mean? It's approximately the power installed today by the Germany. And as I said, it is very close to the RTE new mix. The main difference is the level of consumption, because we have a consumption which is less important, with 25% less consumption. And we have a load curve. Then we develop a model to answer to this the daily hour demand. Now, as you can see here, for the winter days, we use the different energy production in a merit order, static merit order, from renewable, then nuclear, then wind, solar, and at last gas. And at last here you can see that we have some days where we need some import. It is the same than today. For example, today when we have the peak of consumption at 100 gigawatt of consumption, we need to import approximately 10 or 15 gigawatt of electricity from other countries. The results in terms of vectors and network, for us, we have to decarbonize and reduce the part of fossil fuel energy in all the vectors. In electricity mix, in our vision, we are able to reach 47% of renewable production. In a heat district system, we are able to reach 75% of renewable production, mainly wood. And in the gas network too, we are able to reach 14% of biogas directly used in the gas network. For each horizon, time horizon, we have this type of result. For each sector, you have the CO2 emission, methane emission, and we have, as I said before, the results in terms of local pollution. For example, we have the NOx or particle emission, because we are able for a lot of consumption to know the level of local emission. For 2050, I will do it very more quickly, because it is the same type of hypothesis. But as I said at the beginning, you have to keep in mind that the target was the fourfold decrease of greenhouse gas emission. And what we added, we consider that we can change different things in the way of living, particularly when we find convergence of interest. For example, if I want to illustrate this assumption, today we know that we eat too much calories, we eat too much protein, and we eat too much meat. Too much, what does it mean? It means if you go to see a doctor, and if you ask him, what can I do if I want to change my food, he will say you can change this thing, and this thing. So we think that this is what we call a convergence of interest. And in this case, we consider that we can change typically the diet. Here you can see the two types of diet from 2010 and to 2050. As you can see, we don't stop to eat meat, because today we consume 113 grams per day per person. In 2050, we think that we can consume less than 19 grams per day per person. Some people will find it is not possible, not desirable, or we think it is a good example that to show in a lot of cases we can find convergence of interest between health and environment, and it is a way to change the habit and the behavior in a good way. Quickly, the other massive assumption on the building, nothing really different. On the transportation, we consider that the mobility services can really reach an important part of the urban flows, 30%. And for the energy mix of the transportation system, we consider that we are able to no longer consume oil. With electricity and gas which is partly renewable in our scenario, we are able to answer to the consumption from transportation system. Just to show you this result on the transport system, because it's an important result for us too. As you can see, we have a massive reduction of energy consumption. Why? Because with the electricity, here we speak in final consumption, and with electricity, of course, we have a more favorable factor when we speak in final consumption. But as you can see, we have only electricity, gas network, and some liquid biofuels, mainly for transport system, for the air transport system. The results in 2050, it's a strong evolution in all the sector, as you can see here. And in terms of energy consumption, it's a divide by 2 of the energy consumption. And in terms of renewable production, in the district heating system, we are fully renewable. And in the gas network, as I said before, why do we consider that gas is an important energy for the energy system tomorrow? Because we are able to use more and more renewable production in gas system, from hydrogen, from biomass to gas, and from methane. So this is the hypothesis of the technical exercises. Yeah. At least we did a macroeconomic evaluation. This evaluation has been done with OFCE and TNO. What is the main specificity of this evaluation? We have used the 3ME model. It is a multi-sectoral model, a new Keynesian model, and compared to neoclassical model. It means that you can invest not only with the saving. In a neoclassical model, you can only use the saving to fund the invest. In a neo-Keynesian model, you can use the monetary creation to fund the investment. So this is one of the main difference between a neoclassical and neo-Keynesian. But we will be able to discuss more in detail this type of distinction between family of model Thursday, particularly with Gael. And just to give you a type of result that we have with this macroeconomic evaluation, we are able to give some result about the signal price and the carbon tax in our vision. We have a carbon tax in 2050 at 425 euros per ton of CO2. Some can find that this is an important price, but as Patrick said, 400 euros per ton of CO2, it's €1 per liter of oil. And if we consider the current rate of tax level, for example, on gasoline, today, it's 243 euros per ton of CO2. So it means we are going to double the level of tax on oil, for example. We have a result on energy balance where we are able to show the difference between a baseline scenario and our scenario. And we have a result about the investment that we need. So we need more investment. As you can see on the total investment on the period, we need approximately 20 billions more investment for 40 years. And I'm going directly to the conclusion. All the data I show here are available online. So the documents are not yet translated in English, but they will be in the next week. And just a few words about the last part of our work. It's a social translation, as I said. I said a few words before, so I'm not going to tell you more about this. It will be online this week. And maybe to conclude and to try to answer to the question, science for energy scenario. In my point of view, scenario is a way to look forward. And Renaud showed us this morning the different way used by the different community between consultant, academic, institution, but scenario. It's always scenario is always a way to look forward and to look the future. If we consider that science is a rigorous and checkable method investigation, and it is open to criticism and discussion, maybe we can say that, yes, science is energy scenario are science. But if we consider that science must be reproducible, for sure, energy scenario are not science. Because when you do a scenario, you have a knowledge of the technologies. For example, we do not consider in our vision the vehicle to grid, the power to gas, massive storage for electricity. We had some values, we had some beliefs, we have some knowledge of the learning cost curve, or some belief of the evolution of learning cost curves. And if we restart the same exercises today, probably we will do another exercises and we will show another results. So that's why I think energy scenario are not fully science.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.